Welcome to Community Development's Learning Lab. Our presentation today is an overview of LMS and naming conventions and ProjectDox, presented by our CC LMS support staff, Susie Davidson and Jody Bullock. Please put your phones on silent and save your questions for the end, where we'll have a Q&A session. CVTV is recording this Learning Lab, and it will be available on CVTV and our website.
Good morning, everybody. Not afternoon yet. Just move it down and over. So this morning I'm going to go over our LMS site on the external site, which is where the customers will apply for permits and get information. So that's what we're going to be going over as far as the LMS portion. So to start off, what is LMS? LMS is our land management system where customers can go online and apply for any building permits, land use applications, engineering applications, environmental applications. They can pay their fees, they can schedule inspections, they can do all sorts of things on our online site. We have been live with LMS since 2016 when we started with the building permits. New home construction went live first. In 2019 is when our land use section came on board and environmental, and it's been going pretty strong since then. For customers who are applying online, the easiest way to get there is to go to the county's website, which is clark.wa.gov. And if they go over here to departments and go to community development and scroll right here where you see CCMS Find It Fast. And if you scroll down here, this gives you some information on our land management system. And if you scroll down, there is some training videos we have for customers or employees. And here's where you can log in, and here's some Q&A. So when you hit the login page, this is our main page here. On this page here, on the login page, up here at top where it says process changes, up here is where we'll have a lot of information if we're going to have any outages. If we've had process changes, you will see all this information up here. So it's always good to look for any information up here at the top. We also have information on how to apply for building permits, the steps you have to take. And you'll notice throughout this page you have a lot of email links, including system support. And these are where you can directly email groups in specifically. You can also keep scrolling down. And this is where you can start to log in. You can also request inspections. Here is where you can register if you're a new customer wanting to use the system. You can report a neighborhood complaint anonymously. You don't even have to log in or create an account. And you can do some basic search here. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Why not? There we go. When you first log in, this is the home page. And if this is your account, there's a few things you can do. Up here in the orange bar, you can do a search. And when you're doing a search up here, you can search for just your permit. So a lot of people will want to just see just their permits, or you can do a random search. If you have permits that have been completed, this is where you can find your permits and obtain your certificate of occupancy by doing your My Permit search. You could just do My Permit search. You could pick just your building permits. You could put your permit number in. You could even do it by a status of completed. And then you would find your permit and be able to download your occupancy. You can pay fees from this section. One thing to keep in mind is some people, if they're paying for multiple permits at a time, they can go here and they can check a box and pay for all the permits at one time, which helps with the service fees. But that does not issue or accept your permit. In order to do that, you actually want to log in and go to your permit and actually submit it. But you can pay for multiple permits by going through and checking the boxes. You can view all your payments. So if you want a copy of your receipt, you can go here and you can look at all your payments, and you can click on that and get a copy of your receipt if you need it. You can also just check your profile. On your profile page, right here it says action emails. If you click on that, you can check boxes that will then, the system will send you emails when these specific things happened. So if you don't want to receive any emails, check them all off. If you want to receive specific ones, you want to make sure you check those on. I'm going to click back here to the home. I am in our test environment, so it does run a little bit slower than our production environment, so not to worry there. Again, here on the home page, we have process changes that we will update if things have changed. We sometimes will also put other information up here if we're going to have training and staff's going to be out and there'll be limited staff on hand, process changes, inspection notices. So always check the home page as well as the login page. From here, I could actually see some of my permits and inspections. If I go to my activities is going to be where all my permits sit that are active. So anything that's completed will not be on this list, but anything that's still active will be on this list. And I can scroll down and I can see all my permits. And then if there was something that I wanted to look at, all I would have to do is click on the icon and it will open up that permit, and then I can start viewing it. So from here, when I'm viewing a permit, depending on the status, that's a big key, the status of the permit, depends on what you can see here. But I can see the basic detail of the permit. This one happens to be issued, so I could see any inspections. I could see any processes. So if this was not issued and I wanted to kind of see where the permit was at in the system, I could look here and see where it was kind of at. Because we are using two systems, we are using LMS and ProjectDox, stuff gets updated a little bit differently, and we'll kind of can explain that a little bit later. I'm going to go back here to the home page. So from here, I need to decide what I'm doing. Am I applying for a building permit? Do I just want a fee estimate on a permit? Am I applying for a land use application or a neighborhood complaint? So I'm going to go in here to apply for permit. Before I do that, one of the things I wanted to point out was you'll see these little question marks throughout. These are help buttons. So when you click on the help button, it will give you information on whatever section you're by. This happens to be building permits. And then you can just close out of that. Once I click on the building permit page, again, this says apply for permit. And again, we will have some information up here on any process changes. It'll also give you some directions on steps you should take. And then here's all the permits that I have an option to apply for. All the building permits, all the fire permits, and a road approach. Again, there's a question mark here, which is a help button. And if I click on that, it gives me information on each types of these permits. So if I don't know which one I really need, I could click on it. I'll just go to this one as an example. And it's going to give me an example of what this permit would be for, which will help some people determine which one they actually want. And then I can click out of that. So I'm going to go back here to click on the permits. So from here, they all have a little bit of application instructions. So again, this gets updated as needed. It has some information on the process that you should be taking, the steps, create your permit, pay your fees, submit for processing, email the permit center for an appointment. It'll give you that information. If it's a land use application, it's going to be a little bit different, so depending on the type of application you're doing. As you scroll through the page, it's going to ask you some questions, and we really want you to fill out as much as you can. And of course, at any time, if you get stuck because you're not really sure what you should be doing, you can always contact system support or whatever department you're trying to get the permit for. And again, those email links are on the front page. But anything that you need to fill out, you'll see a little red asterisk here. Those are required fields. And so right now it just tells me I'm applying for a residential permit, which this is an ADS, which are always residential. And I have a drop-down menu, so there's a lot of drop-down menus where I can pick which type of structure I'm doing. I'm just going to pick guest house. The number of units is, what am I doing? I'm doing one guest house. And I'm doing new construction, I'll just say, so I have 1 unit. And on the work description, you really want to give it a little bit of description of what you're doing. It's normally your square footage, and I can't spell. So just a brief description of what you're doing, which helps staff determine some things when they're taking in your application and gives them some more information. If you had a previous building permit, you could always put it there, but it is not a required field, so you could skip that. And then you're just going to hit next. So when you get to the next page, it wants you to put in an address or parcel. When you're putting in your address, the best is to put in just the physical address. Don't put in the TH in the street. If you do, sometimes the system kind of gives you a glitch if it's trying to find too many. So usually it's better just to put in a portion, just like that, and then you can hit the search key. Once it pops up, there's a checkbox and you can select the address you need. Again, you'll notice there's a help button here, so if you're not sure how to look this up, or maybe it's new construction, you don't know the parcel or the address, there is a help button there, and it will give you some information. There's a little video there. So once you put in the address, it'll show up right here. It is kind of small, but you'll see it down there. And then this enables this button to get the information for the owner, and you can just click that and it'll autofill that in, so you don't have to type all that in. You only have to then put in the phone number. As you're scrolling through, there's a box here. It says if you're the owner or acting as your contractor. If you are, you just want to check that box. Otherwise, down here, you could start searching for a contractor. If you don't know who your contractor is going to be yet, go ahead and check the box. When you get here to the contractor, we get uploads from L&I, usually once a month. Sometimes they abbreviate the contractor's name, so you can't always find them. So again, less is more when you're trying to do a search. And then you just put in their name. I'm just going to pick on a contractor. And it'll come up with some contractor's information, and then if you know it, you can pick it, or maybe you don't know it and you'll have to check with them later. You can add contact people, and you can add an authorized agent. Again, there's a help button here. An authorized agent is someone you can list on the permit that will allow them to pay fees on the permit. That's pretty much all an authorized agent can do at this point. An authorized agent does also have to have an LMS account in order for you to add them, and you would normally just add them by knowing the email they use for their account. So from here you get to the section that says occupancy. So the occupancy is going to be the square footage of the structure. If it's a 1-story, 2-story, you'll want to separate the stories out. A lot of people are unsure what their occupancy type is. If you are unsure, definitely give us a call and we can help you out with that. There is a little help button here that will give you examples of some of the square footages for your basic construction type, and there is also a little video there to help you through this section. But again, you can just click the button and there is a drop-down menu. This section here, picking the occupancy, will impact your fee, so you definitely want to make sure you get this section right. so you can make sure you're paying the correct fees. If it is wrong, this is something they will check when they're doing your intake. And again, the plans examiners also verify that the square footage matches the plans. But you do want to make sure that it gets done correctly the first time so you're not overpaying or underpaying. And then you just fill these out and hit next. When you get to the next page, these questions will change depending on the type of permit that you're applying for versus new home versus an addition permit. Some of these questions may not necessarily apply to what you're doing at the moment. They may apply to the existing structure. As an example, it gets down here and it asks for existing bedrooms. They want to know the existing bedrooms that are current and then what you're proposing. Sometimes these questions are being asked due to other processes that they may need to look at, or maybe it's a code requirement that they have to look at something different when they're doing your reviews. There could be different reasons why they're asking these specific questions. I'm just going to start filling in some of this information. Again, if you're unsure what type of lot you're on, that is on the GIS page as well. But you just start going through and kind of reading what the question says, and then just filling them out to the best you can. And then just continue to hit next. So this page here talks about uploading. So for most of our permits, you're not going to upload anything into LMS because we have our ProjectDox, which is our electronic plan review that Jody's going to be talking about pretty soon here. There are a few permits that we still do, and land use has sections where they will upload into LMS, and it will usually spell it out for you in the text here, in the admin text and the information. It'll let you know to go ahead and upload, or it'll say for specific types of permit, go ahead and upload. Otherwise, you won't be uploading here. You'll just skip this page. And if you're unsure, we're available. So when you get to the end here, if you forgot to fill something out that was a required field, you're going to get this little fix information here. And if I click on that, it's going to take me back to the screen where I forgot to fill something out. And I forgot to fill out the proposed height. And then unfortunately, you have to just hit next and go back again. Once you get to the very end, it's going to show you the fees that's going to be due at the time. So these are fees that you can pay online. It will take you out to a third party, which is our point and pay site. And you will want to make sure that you're reading all the disclaimers down here before you go forward. You can save this. It's actually already saved already, because as you start typing it in, it's automatically saving it. You do not have to necessarily pay online. You can come into the permit center during their available hours for walk-in payments and make those payments online or in person if you don't want to pay online. Otherwise, you can pay your fee by checking the I acknowledge box. You're acknowledging that everything you filled out is correct, and then you're going to go to pay the fees and submit the application. Once you do that, that is going to take you out to the point and pay site, which is the third party. And from here, you can pay by credit card or debit, or you can click down and hit the electronic check. It's my dummy credit card. One thing about when you're paying online with credit cards, especially if you're with a company, the information that you put in has to match whatever the mailing address that bill goes to. Some people start putting in their personal, and then they get an error message because it's not going to work for them. You will see your total. You will see the convenience fee they charge. Once you are done, you can hit the finished, I might get a little error. And it's going to take you back to the page of LMS, and then you can see your permit number. It was submitted, and you can click on it, and then you can see all the information you filled out. So this changes your permit to the submitted status. So again, once it's submitted, you are going to want to sign out, and you're going to want to go up here to number 3, and you're going to want to click on that. So you're going to email the permit center that you need a submittal appointment, and then they'll contact you with an appointment time. And if it's something that needs to be where you need ProjectDox for electronic plan review, they'll send you a link to ProjectDox as well. And this whole time, I know what I was forgetting to do. Why didn't you guys remind me? I was forgetting to go through the slideshow. So I'm very sorry. See, I'm not used to doing this. The slideshow, I believe, will be available online, the presentation, which basically is going to pop over the screens that I just went through with all the information. Just kind of briefly click through those so you can see those. So I apologize. Where you put in all your information, downloading, you get that lovely fix error, and your payment. And Jody is next.
No, it's okay. We're just gonna do this. We're just gonna go like that. It's already switched over. There we go. Perfect.
Hi. Thank you, Susie. Appreciate it. You always seem to know how to direct people through CC/LMS. So my name's Jody Bullock, and I am going to give a quick overview of ProjectDox and a little bit about naming your files and following a standard naming convention, as well as uploading documents into ProjectDox. So welcome to ProjectDox. So what is it? It's Clark County's online electronic review system. It was implemented in September of 2022. ProjectDox is a repository for all the files related to a permit while it's under a formal review. It's a task-based system, meaning that tasks are assigned to both customers as well as staff as the files move through the review process. I also wanted to point out that paper copies are no longer required to be submitted by customers. And ProjectDox allows Clark County to formally approve and apply the official county stamp to all documents. And one thing that is really handy about ProjectDox, it allows the county to formally approve and stamp the files. Permits that are reviewed in ProjectDox. Most of the permits that are reviewed in ProjectDox are our building permits, our fire permits, and our engineering. Well, that should say permits, but it does say reviews. So with that being said, not all of our permits go under a review process. It's basically any type of permit that will have a formal review on structural documents that will go through the review process. And what is ProjectDox in a nutshell, and how does it work? So permits are submitted, just like Susie just showed, through LMS. They are created in ProjectDox. Once they're submitted, files will upload, or customers will upload their files into ProjectDox. And once they go through a pre-screen process, the files will be routed to the staff for review. Staff will then comment and or provide markups and request revisions if needed. And once that process is complete, the reviews are stamped and approved when final. And then customers can go ahead and download those approved files from the system. And so that kind of leads us to, why does Clark County enforce naming conventions? Well, first, it provides organization, efficiency, and file management for the system. I got a little bit ahead of my notes here. So naming conventions allow staff and applicants to quickly reference a file without having to open them. Organizing file names improves review times and allowing staff to meet deadlines as well as the customer's expectations. And the management of files is an easy way to maintain and streamline to ensure efficiency through the review process. ProjectDox. There's two type of file types. There's documents and drawings. What you'll find with documents is that they are more flexible. Since these files do not really always require a formal review, they are more information about the project. The format is a lot more simple, so it's more flexible. It can be multiple pages. It can have multiple document types, meaning it can be a Word document. It doesn't necessarily have to be a PDX. It can be Excel. It could even be a JPEG if needed. And it does not have to be any type of rotated a specific way. It can be landscape or portrait. There is only one requirement for documents, and that would be following the naming conventions that we will be reviewing in a minute. Drawings. There is some more requirements around drawings, and that is because they do go through a review process. And so this format is applied to the drawing files, and the format is as such as that they need to be PDF format, they need to be single page, and they need to be rotated in landscape mode. The requirements for they will also need to adhere to a naming convention. And all plans have to be drawn to a specific scale, clearly labeled and calibrated. Layering on the files should not be more than 100 layers. And lastly, down here in the bottom slide, oops, that's the wrong mouse. Here you'll see that all documents should have a space reserved in the upper right-hand corner of the document so that the Clark County can leave our stamp here. And if any further assistance is needed for any of the above references, you can go to on our Clark County.gov site to Community Development E-Plan Review, and you will see some more help and guides to getting your documents into this style. So ProjectDox, best practices for naming conventions. So best practice is always name your files before you upload them into ProjectDox. If you don't upload them first, you will if you don't name them before uploading them, you will not have a chance to do that in ProjectDox because you will not be able to rename them or reorder them once they're uploaded. The next thing is to put your documents in order, and the order of the documents should be uploaded in which the manner of the structure is being built. The recommendation is to use 40 characters or less, and in your file names, do not use any special characters because this can then create problems down the road when they get batch stamped. So naming convention for drawings. The name is as follows. You're going to first name it. The first section is going to have an order number, which you can see here. Oops, wrong mouse again. And this is the order number. It should go in sequential order as, again, how the building or how the structure is being built from the ground up. The next portion or section of the naming order should be the sheet number. So this would be the page number. And this is denoted, sometimes you'll see the letter in front, which will denote whether it's an architectural drawing or an engineer drawing or a cover sheet. So that would be, the sheet number would be always followed by a alpha followed by the number, the sheet number on the document. And then lastly, it would be followed by the name of the document. So it would always be the order number, sheet name, and here at the bottom in red is the full name of the file. Okay, so now we're going back to documents. As we stated earlier, it's a lot more flexible. So the only thing that you're going to need for documents is an order number and a sheet name. So again, the order number in which the document is uploaded and the application name, and that would be 001 application. So some tips. If you incorrectly upload your file into ProjectDox, you will get error messages, as you can see here over on the right. For referencing an error message, they are pretty simplistic. If it's an invalid file, that means you did not upload your drawing as a PDF. If you did not rotate it in the correct direction, which needs to be landscape, you will get a sheet rotated error. And if your document is a multi-page document and it needs to be separated into individual sheets, you will get the multi-page error. Over on the right-hand side here, you can delete those. You would have to go back to your hard drive, format them correctly, and then upload them. Again, I'd like to reiterate that it's always good to name your files prior to uploading, because once we're in ProjectDox, you can't change them as a customer. Upload files in the order in which the structure is being built from the ground up. That really helps our plan reviewers as they go through these. And then also another little tidbit is up here in ProjectDox, there is a link that you can watch a video so that if you're unsure what the error message is or how to upload your files correctly, you can then watch the video. And that's it. So now I guess we're open for question and answers. Do we have any? Come on, Susie, you can take a seat right next to me. Yes, Michelle.
So earlier, Susie, when you were doing your LMS, you said you can refer back to GIS. Is there a button in LMS when you're uploading? You can hit a button to go to GIS to get that information? Or do you have to go somewhere else?
Can we open this back up?
Yep, sorry. Can't see, I can't see. Is that on the addressing when I was talking about that, right? I know somewhere we have a link, but I can't remember if that was one of the places we had a link.
With the utilities as well. So I don't know if there's just something you can go to that'll take you right to GIS to get that information.
I don't think so either. No, there's no link. It's just a video that shows you. So which means we could put a link down here to GIS.
That would
It
be,
just shows you how to get to the specific. Yep. I'll make a note of that, Michelle. Thank you.
And one other thing, I did a permit through this, and so there's a lot of information on here that gets really together. I mean, it's like 100,000 words on one page, so it's hard to read it. At the very end, when you pay, can we also make a note that says something like, please remember to contact the appointment people? Because I think there we get a lot of questions like, where's it at in the process? And it's like, well, you still have to notify them so they know you made a payment. So, and I know it does say 1, 2, 3, but it's so overwhelming. It was overwhelming for me, and I know what's going on.
Okay.
But for an applicant, to remember to go back to step number 3 in the very beginning, I think they're going to forget, and we get that a lot.
So possibly on that last page, when it takes you, after you pay, when it takes you back, where you can click here to view, maybe on that page.
Yeah,
Helpful?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good note.
So this is a ProjectDox question. When you talk about leaving a space for a stamp on those files, should we also leave room for comments and markups?
Yes, that would probably be very valuable because I know that when the plan reviewers start looking at the structural documents, a lot of architects or engineers like to shove as much as they can on one sheet. But as long as they are leaving spaces that we can apply markups and comments easily, that's a benefit for the customers as well because it just makes it a little bit more readable for everyone else. So that would be advisable for engineers and architects not to crowd so much onto one page that it's not easy to mark up.
The same goes like on the plot plan, when the permit center has to put all their stamps on it. If there's no room, it's then hard to see where they're trying to mark everything.
Yeah. Or do any of the managers in the room have any feedback on that? In terms of what they would like to see?
Is there anything on the land use side that the engineering, our applicants will pay, the applicant will pay, but the engineer doesn't know that they paid, and they're the ones who's uploading all the documents, so it sits in limbo, and we don't know that it's been paid unless someone emails us or contacts us, what's the status? Is there something on our webpage that tells them to talk to somebody that they got paid?
I think the process is that once they, because you have to pay that NCC LMS, right? The trigger is to come back into ProjectDox and to mark it that they paid it, and then once it's paid, that task would then go back to the coordinator.
It doesn't happen in ProjectDox, it happens only in LMS for us.
Well, I know that the permit center does follow the process where the customer is responsible for logging in and paying in LMS. And then they have to come back into ProjectDox, check the box that it's paid, and then there's a memo that's sent out that, they check the box that it's paid, and that notifies the permit center. They sometimes will check the box or say they've paid, then it's up to the permit center to go into LMS to verify that payment. If a payment hasn't been made, they can just send it right back to the applicant in ProjectDox saying, hey, you didn't make payment still. So it's a process. We could be happy to show that to you.
Yeah, because we get that a lot, that things have been paid, but we don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to go into LMS and look to see if it's been paid.
Right, so we'd have to check it daily to see if it's been paid.
Yeah, because I think that's the same process the permit
But then
center
it
pays.
does also too, it gets paid and then they still need to hit submit to put it back into our ball court. And that doesn't happen either because the applicant, and let's say the engineer, may not be talking.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a communications, but, well, and the thing is, like on the page that is up on the screen, if customers are going in and hitting pay, sorry, because I know you guys can't hear me. If customers are actually going in and hitting pay here, all that does is pay the fee. So whoever, they need to make sure they're going back into My Activities, and whether it's in application incomplete or it's still in draft, they then need to hit that resubmit button so that it will actually trigger back to you, and a task gets sent to you guys. And the status then changes to either submitted or, back in review, depending on what status it was prior to. So that is something that the applicants need to learn, that just going in and paying it doesn't mean it moves it forward. They actually have to submit it or resubmit it, whatever they're doing, to get a task to you guys. Talk to me about that later. There's something we can see if there's something we can do so you guys know when stuff's paid, but really that's the way the system's going to work for them.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add that since the systems aren't integrated, it would also help if that were in place so that once it's paid in CCLMS, it could just make a call to ProjectDox and mark it paid, but they're not integrated, so it's still manual.
That's it? All right.
All right. Thank you for attending today's session. Thank you to our presenters. Our next session will be how to write narratives for type 2 and 3 projects. This is scheduled for the third Thursday of next month, so that's going to be August 21st at 11 a.m., and we hope to see you there.